It was a quiet evening. The sky was gray, the kind of gray that wraps around your chest and makes you feel heavy. Evan, early 30s, a writer drained from burnout, wandered aimlessly through unfamiliar streets, looking for nothing in particular. Maybe inspiration, maybe something strange enough to jolt him awake. He stopped in front of a small, forgotten thrift store, the kind with a flickering sign and windows too fogged up to see through. Inside, a dull yellow light spilled over shelves of dusty relics, and in the far corner, it found him. A tape recorder. Old, heavy, metallic body, manual buttons. It wasn't plugged in, yet emitted a faint, constant hum, like it was still alive.
That one's not for sale. Came in yesterday. Scared the hell out of my assistant. She quit.
Evan didn't respond, eyes still locked on the machine.
I'll take it.
The owner simply sighed, didn't argue, almost looked relieved. That night, Evan placed the recorder on his desk, between unfinished manuscripts and half-drunk coffee. He hit rewind, then play, static. Then a female whisper, so faint he thought he imagined it.
You left the window open again.
He frowned, rewound, played again.
You left the window open again.
Same voice, but this time louder, closer. Not distant like an old recording. It felt like someone was whispering near his ear. Then, knock, knock. 2 soft taps from the tape. Evan turned. The window behind him was closed, locked, but the tape continued.
Tomorrow, 3:17 a.m.
Click. The recorder stopped on its own. 3:16 a.m. Evan woke up. No nightmares, no sounds, just awake, as if someone had tapped his shoulder in a dream. He checked the clock. 3:16. 1 minute until the time on the tape. He sat up slowly, wrapped the blanket tighter around his chest. Cold air brushed against his neck like a whisper. 3:17. The light above him flickered once. Not off, just enough to make him pause. Then, knock, knock, knock. Not from the tape, from the hallway. 3 slow, precise knocks. Too soft to be aggressive, too intentional to be random. Evan didn't move. His breathing got shallow. No one had ever knocked on his door at this hour. Ever. 1 minute passed. No more knocks. No footsteps. No anything. He didn't sleep again that night. Evening fell. Evan hesitated, then powered the recorder back on. He hadn't touched it since last night. But there was a new tape. He didn't press record, but somehow it had recorded again. He pressed play. First, the sound of footsteps. Then, the clink of cutlery, water running, a wooden chair dragging across the floor, all from his apartment. Then, the voice.
Don't open the door, no matter what you hear.
Evan leaned in. Near the end of the tape, faint music played. A piano tune. He recognized it. It was the same song he'd played last night on loop. It was still echoing on the tape. Then, at the very end, a quiet laugh, barely audible, not joyful, not human. Evan's spine went cold. That night, Evan decided not to sleep. He made coffee, left all the lights on, sat by the door, watched the clock. 3:17 a.m. This time he was already standing when the knocking came. Knock, knock, knock. But now, he heard breathing from the other side. It wasn't hurried. It wasn't struggling. It was calm, steady, like someone standing still, facing the door, waiting. Evan didn't open it. He sat down, back against the wall, barely a few feet from the door.
Who are you? Who's out there?
Silence. Then, a loud thud. Not enough to break the door, but enough to make it shift. Just a little. When morning came, no one was outside. But on the floorboards, right in front of the door, was a small, shallow dent. Evan hadn't slept in days. The darkness outside no longer scared him. It was the quiet inside that did. He sat in front of the recorder. This time he didn't wait for it to act. He pressed record, leaned in, and spoke.
If anyone's listening, I'm not afraid. I just want to know. What are you?
He paused, stopped the tape, then hit play. At first, just his voice. Exactly what he said. Then, right after the last word, something new.
We know.
He froze. That voice hadn't been there a second ago. It slipped in, responded. The recorder wasn't just a device, it was a conversation. That night, Evan didn't leave the living room. He turned every light on, left the recorder untouched. But at 2:57 a.m., it powered on by itself. The tape rolled. At first, silence. Then, footsteps. Software. Barefoot. On wood. Not rushed. Not random. Deliberate. Then, the sound of wood creaking. Not on the tape. Behind him. Evan turned. A wall. Just a wall. But a thin, hairline crack had appeared, stretching from the floor almost to the ceiling. He hadn't heard a sound from the wall itself, but the recorder had, as if it recorded what was about to happen, or worse, what it had summoned. The next morning, Evan returned to the thrift store. He didn't plan to, but somehow his feet took him there. The shop owner looked up. His expression changed.
You shouldn't be back.
Evan placed the recorder on the counter, then asked simply,
Who had it last?
The man hesitated, then pulled out an old ledger from a locked drawer. Faded ink, musty paper. One name, Marla Henders. Rented it in 2014. Returned 3 days later.
She called me that third night, screaming, said it wasn't a recorder, said it was a warning system. When I got to her place the next day, door wide open, machine still running, Marla was gone.
Evan said nothing. But the last tape he listened to, the one that whispered, "Don't open the door," that was her voice. Evan started keeping a journal. He mapped out each recording, each sound, each timestamp, and the pattern became clear. The tapes were premonitions. Thursday, the tape played the sound of his doorbell ringing, followed by his own voice, screaming. That night at 8:16 p.m., his doorbell actually rang. He didn't answer it. Friday, a new tape, a conversation.
I thought you were dead.
I still am.
Evan never remembered saying those words. He didn't know the woman's voice, but somehow, it was his voice, just slightly wrong. At the end of the recording, a new voice entered.
It's learning. Voice is the first step.
The recorder was mimicking him, or replacing him. That night, Evan ran a test. He sat at the desk, pressed record, spoke clearly.
My name is Evan Cole. It's March 18th. I am doing this to prove the tape doesn't change.
He stopped the recording, then played it back. At first, it was correct. Then, his voice glitched. Not a digital glitch. Something deeper, like a breath in the middle of his words, followed by, "Because someone is standing behind you." He turned around. No one. He hit play again. Now, the tape had changed entirely. His voice sounded calm, wrong, and repeated.
They're listening. You already said too much.
The real Evan didn't remember saying that, but the tape did. Evan left the city. He took a bus to nowhere, found a roadside motel, turned off his phone, hid the recorder in a drawer. For the first time in weeks, he slept. But when he returned to his apartment 3 days later, the recorder was on. No one had touched it. It was playing something new. He hit play. The voice was female, not Marla, not the whisper, something else.
No matter where you go, we're still here. You don't escape the message. You become it.
Evan pulled the plug, ripped the wires out. The recorder kept playing. A soft, steady heartbeat looped on repeat. And beneath it, his own voice whispering,
It's okay, I'm used to the sound now.
Evan didn't sleep. He sat in the dark, staring at the tape recorder, not touching it, just waiting. At 4:09 p.m., the reels spun on their own. A new tape. He pressed play. A man's voice, calm, clinical.
Time of death, approximately 3:17 a.m. No signs of forced entry, no struggle. Body found slumped over the desk, hand still resting on the active tape recorder.
Evan's stomach dropped. The voice wasn't a stranger. It was a detective's report about him. The name, the apartment number, the date, all correct, but he was still alive. For now. Evan tore open his cabinets, pulled tools from drawers, smashed the recorder against the floor. Nothing. It didn't crack, didn't even scratch. He unplugged it, removed the battery, wrapped it in towels, shoved it under the bed. And yet, an hour later, the sound of tape whirring filled the room, coming from underneath. He pulled it out. It was glowing again. He pressed play.
You can break everything, but not the message. It already remembers you.
He stared at the machine, and for the first time, he saw his reflection in the recorder's metal surface. It was smiling. That night, Evan sat down one last time. This time, he didn't ask questions. He just spoke.
If you find this, my name is Evan Cole. Don't play the tapes. Don't even touch them. Once you hear what's coming, you're already too late.
He stopped the recorder, breathed out. But then, the machine played it back. And this time, it added a line at the end.
Good. You're ready now.
Evan turned toward the mirror. He was gone. The reflection, still sitting there, still smiling. Darkness, then light. Diamond Soy's dusty. Evan opened his eyes. He stood in a small shop. Shelves of old radios, clocks, faded books. A faint yellow light flickered above. The air was thick with dust and silence. He didn't remember walking in, didn't remember anything. But in front of him, on a wooden shelf, was a tape recorder. Heavy, metallic, familiar. It hummed softly. From behind the counter, a voice.
That one's not for sale.
Evan didn't turn to look. He just stepped forward, stared at the machine. His hand moved on its own.
I'll take it.
The man behind the counter said nothing. The tape recorder clicked. It began to play, without being touched.
Once you hear what's coming, you're already too late.